Welcome to another edition of Open for Business. I'm your host, Marjorie Young. Today's show is about how one local restaurant group has pivoted during COVID-19. The industry's been very hard hit and millions of workers have been laid off. Our guest, Brian Huskey, owner of the Gaslight Group, has 3 restaurants and a bar: B-Mathews Eatery, 5 Spot Midtown, 5 Spot on Broughton, and Abes on Lincoln. So Brian is here to share his journey on how his group has pivoted during this worldwide crisis. Welcome, Brian. Welcome to Open for Business.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Brian, when you first heard about this news, what was the first thing that your organization did?
Well, we created a manager meeting quickly with some of our leadership and discussed how this was going to affect the business, but also how it's going to affect our employees. We had, at the time, 120 employees. So we reached out to our payroll company and got some advice on how to maneuver the waters of unemployment for everyone. So we temporarily laid off everyone, including myself.
So when you say laid off, what does that mean? Are they coming back, furloughed? I mean, what's that terminology mean?
The temporary layoff basically means that you are giving them an opportunity to apply for unemployment insurance because there is no work available for them. Because having 3 restaurants and a bar and not being able to serve people, there was no work available for 100 of them. We've been able to maintain a hodgepodge of employees at the 5 Spot Midtown just to provide the to-go and takeout delivery service of our business.
So,
but for the majority of them, they're sitting at home.
All right. So the first thing you did is reach out to your payroll company, and I'd like to discuss that a little bit too. I mean, is that a normal practice to have an outside payroll company in your restaurant industry?
I don't know if it's normal or not. We've been participating in a PEO platform for about 7 years now. And when I first took over B-Mathews back in 2006, and I started doing payroll myself with ADP, I was told that to stay away from the PEOs because they cost more, and it's just not good for your business. But what I've found is I might be paying a little bit more for that service on the back end, but to have someone or a group of people that I can turn to whenever there's an unemployment claim or a wrongful termination claim or a national pandemic situation, it's nice to be able to lean on a group of people versus just trying to figure it out myself. So they've been worth their weight in gold for me over this process.
That's really, I mean, well, you're a large organization. You have a lot of restaurants, and is it mostly geared for larger companies, or really micro size? Would you recommend it to smaller?
I guess that's a good question. If you can't afford to have your own payroll or HR branch of your company, mm-hmm. I would suggest going the route of a service like we have. If we only had 2 restaurants or 2 locations with maybe 50 employees where we didn't want to do health insurance for our managers, or we didn't want to do disability insurance, or we were actively annually shopping workers' comp rates, I could see where you would want to kind of do your own, but we're not. I think we've outgrown that. We had 5 locations at one point, and it's nice to have someone you can lean on to. It's almost like a cafeteria plan of payroll.
Absolutely. So my next question is, the pandemic hit. Was there, I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that had a strategy for a pandemic, but what was the next step that you did after that?
Just open communication and constant communication with as many people and organizations as I could possibly find. Mm-hmm. The TLC here in Savannah was very upfront. They were in constant communication with the governor. So we were trying to figure out what regulations were coming down from the state. Also, from a financial standpoint, I reached out to all of my banks that I had deposits in, and also small business loans with, and including my personal mortgage company. And we started the ball rolling on getting all of our payments deferred for as long as we could.
Smart.
I call it, it's kind of like pushing the largest pause button in the history of man.
Well said.
It gave us, right, because it gave us a little bit of relief knowing that, sure, our cash flow has basically come to a screeching halt. It's easier to sleep at night if you know that you're not getting pummeled with rent payments and small business loan payments. Even American Express, I got them to pause their payment as well. So it's that in itself has been great, knowing that it's not going to cost me an additional fees down the road. I don't know. It just seemed like I needed to do that, knowing that the business was going to have to close, and we had no idea how long it was or is going to be closed.
So Brian, did you actually pick up the phone and call American Express and just say, help me here? I mean, how?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yep.
That's a really good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the goal was to be as proactive as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The goal from the beginning was to be on top of the wave instead of being under the wave. And that's how we've maintained throughout the pandemic.
So you have managed to reduce costs as much as possible. And then with the industry at a standstill, how are you making money now? What have you had to do to pivot?
I've worked harder over the past 2 months than I have in a long time. We were very fortunate to have a mobile kitchen that's based out of the 5 Spot in Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
And we have partnered with some other food trucks in town, and we've been hitting the streets. We are booked out every day, except for one. We're trying to take one day off, so we're booked out 6 out of 7 days right now. Some all-day events, lunch, dinner. It's been great. It's been able to basically float us throughout the past 8-9 weeks. And I think it's something that we're going to continue down the road. So one of the silver linings is an additional stream of income.
Excellent. So you hadn't really been using this food truck until now. I mean, what have you learned about using it during a pandemic? I mean, how are you keeping the customers safe?
Yeah, we had to adapt quickly, our standard operating procedures, and it took us one event to realize that the way we were doing things is not the best way to do it from now on. So we started packaging all of our food in to-go boxes and packaging those to-go boxes into bags to encourage people to pick up their food and go home, not to grab their food and congregate and eat with other people. Which is still kind of just a human, natural, innate thing to do. And I think having been out in the neighborhoods, the one thing that people are missing most is being able to have that human interaction with others. And so it's, from a restaurant and bar standpoint, it's not really going out and eating the food or drinking the drink. It's being around people.
Mm-hmm. At 6 feet apart.
Yes, at 6 feet apart or more.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the studies are now saying more than 6 feet, but okay. So you started the street, the delivery, and that's going well. So have you thought about the next phase of opening again? I mean, our state is now allowed to be open. How does that look for you guys?
We are analyzing it shift by shift, not just day by day, but shift by shift. We're watching the news. We're trying to keep our finger on the pulse of regulations. It's been frustrating because just in the past week or two, we've been told a lot of things that we shouldn't do or can't do, but there hasn't been a whole lot of leadership in telling us what we can do or what we might be able to do next week. We're contemplating opening our dining rooms next week. A lot of our colleagues have already done so, but I just don't know how that looks.
Good for
To be
you.
an entrepreneur, yeah, to be an entrepreneur, you need three things. You need a product to sell, and you need a customer to sell it to, and you need an employee base to do the work. And right now, all three of those are in question. Um, that's why we can't really decide when to effectively open our dining rooms, because downtown there is no customer yet. Our employees are still a little squirrely about coming back to work,
Mhm.
and the supply chain is breaking. Our delivery yesterday, just to the one location that's limping along via delivery and takeout, was shorted a lot of product that we would normally be able to get.
Hmm. So the food supply. Now that's scary. That's really scary.
Yes.
How do you? I guess you just have to change your menu every day, or and
As
what are the products
yeah,
hard to
uh,
come?
my wife told me yesterday we're going to have to get creative, and she's always pushing us to be more creative, and I need her for that. But it's true, we we can't just keep operating the way that we operated 2 months ago. If we can't get our normal proteins that we've been using for the past 10 years, we're going to have to pivot that as well. So the menu's not going to look the same. Um, the dining rooms aren't going to look the same. The layout of seating is not going to look the same. So I'm one of those guys that I love a challenge. And the thing I love about the restaurant business is it's not the same every day. So this is it's a huge opportunity. And from a creative standpoint, it's a great opportunity for me to get together with my team and come up with some different solutions.
Have you thought about some of the solutions? I mean, just what can you share with us of how you're going to arrange the seating, the waiting in line,
Well,
reservations?
again, if the regulations that Governor Kemp put into place back in April expire next or this coming Wednesday, then a lot of those social distancing requirements of the 50% occupancy and whatnot may go out the window. So it's going to be on us to decide, well, do we go back to the way we were, or do we still try to listen to the CDC and science and try to mitigate as
Mhm.
much as possible more threat of an outbreak?
Absolutely. So, Brian, what is your national association telling you to do?
It's the National Association is the National Restaurant Association, and we have a Georgia Restaurant Association branch of that, and that has been uh, probably the most consistent communicative association we've had. Again, just trying to interpret the regulations and trying to hedge what's going to happen down the road. um, it's good information, but again, we're all, like I said earlier, we're all kind of guessing and trying to hedge on best practices for tomorrow and next week and next month.
So, Brian, if there is another restaurant owner watching this, what advice would you give them about this whole situation?
Well, I'm hoping that they took the steps we took as far as furloughing their employees,
Mhm.
giving them some sort of opportunity to have an income while they're closed, and also deferring all the loan payments they could possibly defer. Going forward, my advice is to keep leaning on your professional people that you've got in your pocket, whether it's financial planners, CPAs, attorneys, HR people, and also
Mhm.
people like me. I'm on the phone every day with colleagues. I'm calling people, they're calling me. We're all trying to make sure that we're doing the same thing, or not getting out of our lane, uh, as you will. Um, so it's constant communication. Don't my biggest piece of advice is don't ever believe that you're in this by yourself, because we're all waking up in the morning with the same thoughts, the same stress, the same uncertainty. And we've got a lot of pressure on us. People are looking at us as leaders to make the right decision for the company and for them. So keep your head up, this isn't going to last forever. However, I do think it's going to be lasting longer than we are anticipating right now.
So Brian, you have a group of colleagues. Is that a formal group or an informal group? Is it, how, I mean,
it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the day-to-day conversations is an informal group of other restaurant owners or restaurant managers. We're all calling each other, hey, when are you going to open? Or what's your dining room going to look like? Or where are you getting your food from? And what are you telling your employees? But from the official part, the Downtown Business Association, which I'm a board member of, has, I lean on them. I lean on the Visit Savannah. I'm on the phone with Joe Marinelli every week or two, and his staff has been great. The chamber has been, obviously we haven't been able to meet for a while, but I try to keep connected to any and all, especially locally.
Awesome. So if somebody's watching and they would like to talk to you and ask you a question about how you're doing something in this industry, how can they get in touch with you? What's your website?
My email is Brian, BRIAN, at gaslight-group.com. Any of our restaurants can be emailed at info at the restaurant name. My phone number is 912-655-5749. I'm available to any and all.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful words of wisdom during this unprecedented time in history. We're actually documenting it with this. And thank you for being on Open for Business.
Thank you.
Thank you.